Hello, and welcome to another episode. I am Brian, the Unskilled Commander, and this is Unskilled Commander Possibilities. We're going over different commanders that maybe we can make, maybe we won't, but we can at least see how you can see how I theorize them and brainstorm what I would do if I was going to make a commander deck out of these creatures. Sometimes they're out of my wheelhouse, sometimes I pick some that were kind of obvious and fun. Let's get to it. So first up, we've got Arden Intrepid Archaeologist. A 2/2 for 3. Okay, not the best. I always like it when the power and toughness matches up with the mana value, at least, if not better, but let's see what else, right? At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. It does have partners, so you could make this a different color, like add in, for something like white, you probably want to partner in with green to get you some mana ramp in there. But we're going to go off of, let's pretend this is just a mono white deck. Obviously, this is going to be an equipment-heavy deck, or auras. I mean, essentially the same thing, really. Auras and equipments give you buffs of some sort. They plus this, plus that, or protection from this, or if when this creature hits a player, you draw cards, and blah, blah, blah. They all, different things, but they have the same general abilities and strategies out of it. At least that's how I view it. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but they seem like pretty much the same thing. Now, the interesting part is that you don't have to necessarily rely on commander damage with him. Similar, if you've watched some of the episodes, you know I have a Kemba deck that's mono white, and it's all about equipping her and getting her through quickly to smack with lethal commander damage in like a couple turns and then move on. And plus, she has the bonus of every time she has an equipment, she pops out a cat on upkeep for every equipment. So even if it's not going to be doing lethal commander damage anytime soon, or you can only get rid of one player and there's still 2 or 3 more in the pod, you've got a bunch of creatures to block with. Now, he doesn't have that luxury, but you don't necessarily need it with this, because if I was building this, obviously I'm going to load it up with a lot of good equipments, right? Most of the swords, just Animist, sort of the Animist, of course, because anytime you have white, you almost should just put that in there, period, regardless of whether it's equipment deck or not. I don't know as well a lot of the auras, so maybe they have some really, really great auras instead of equipments that I would put in, and I would look that up, or see what kind of auras I actually had in my collection. But regardless, I would be trying to get a lot in there on the field and just ready. Because what you can do is, because he says at the beginning of combat on your turn, you can attach any number of auras to target permanent. So unless I'm misreading it and misunderstanding how equipments work, that sounds to me like you can bounce them around. So he's a 3-drop. You start throwing out some really good equipments as soon as you can. You ramp up as best you can with like mana rocks. And then you drop some really good creatures like some flyers, like some angels, right? Then on combat, you swoop all the auras and enchantments up to the angel. She sails over all the, everyone's blockers. Boom, now it's hitting. It's not commander damage, but it's still going to hit for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage with a bunch of cool effects idealistically, right? But then, of course, if someone blows it up, destroys the angel, the auras, I believe, go away, but the equipments just fall back to the battlefield. So you've still got them, and now, you've got this little, something on the ground, but maybe it's like unblockable somehow, right? Switch over combat, boom, they all go to that little guy, swing in. So I like that this gives he gives the deck flexibility. So you don't have to rely on commander damage as long as he's on the field. That's all you need. You just need to protect him long enough that you can jump all of that equipment, bounce back and forth, and get it onto whoever's going to actually connect with your opponents. That's basically how I would go with that one. Bare bones, general startup. Now here we have an angel, a Chroma Vision of Axidor, a 7-drop, for a 6/6 for 7-drop. Good on the number combos there, but 7 in white, very, very bad. I mean, just because it's going to be ridiculous to try and get her out. And one board, one wipe, one, destruction spell, and now it costs 9 to come out. It's probably only going to see the battlefield once. So I don't know how I would go. I mean, if I would even try to bother with making a commander deck like this, especially in white. But then again, if you guys can go ahead and you're like, oh no, Brian, this is how you build a mono white deck to just ramp it out crazy. It's like, I know you can do it. I know you can ramp colorless, because I know you can do colorless Eldrazi decks that get, Kozilek out on turn 3. So I know it's possible. But regardless, she's a flying, first strike, vigilance, and trample, which are fantastic. Another reason why it warrants the 7-drop. At the beginning of each combat until end of turn, each other creature you control gets +1/+1 if it has flying, +1/+1 if it has first strike. And the same thing for double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, protection, reach, trample, vigilance, and partner. And she does have partner, by the way. So you could partner her with green, again, to get the ramp in there and go crazy. So that's actually, both of them do have, these first two have the partner ability, so you could compensate for their mono whiteness. I like, not that I'm going to say I like the challenge of it, but it just feels like if you could do it in mono white, it'd be a little more impressive. But anyway, this would be fun, not counting the crazy cost to get her out. But it'd be fun because you just go for keyword. That's the entire deck. I would dump every mono white keyworded creature I could find in there that made sense, that was at least something. I would do probably 2/3 low drop and another third the big crazy angels like her, the ones that would have multiple keywords. But I would definitely put in a 1/2 that's got first strike, or a 1/2 that has reach, or whatever, because it's going to get that +1/+1 buff. And then if I could get any kind of spells or abilities that say creatures you control have lifelink until end of turn, well, guess what? Now all of your creatures just got +1/+1, and you're going to get a bunch of life off them if they swing. So it's got a lot of potential, I think. And I guess you probably pretty much just have to do the partner with her. Partner her with a real low-cost green commander just to have tons of ramp, so that you can get her out at turn 4 or 5 or something like that, and not even worry about the green commander so much. If it's got a cool keyword and maybe some sort of buff, awesome, put it out for a 3-drop or a 4-drop, but the green's just there to get her out fast. I don't know. I almost feel like that's kind of cheating, but at the same time, I mean, it's clearly the smart move. And because you have that option, there's no need to handcuff yourself in Magic or Commander unless you are just that skilled at it and you want to have a little bit more, up the difficulty level, which there's nothing wrong with that. So then the last card that we have chosen here is black, Tivash Gloom Summoner, a 4/4 that costs 5 mana to get out. Not the best. 5 mana is not bad, actually. 5 is okay. You can get 5, relative quickly. Now, again, this is mono black, no partner this time, so you would have to rely on, having lands in your opening hand and drawing them, and getting hopefully a couple mana rocks early on to get him out. Now, he's got lifelink, and at the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, you may pay X life, where X is the amount you gained. If you do, create an XX black demon creature token with flying. That's why he's in there, because it's outside of how I normally, my comfort zone, because there's a lot of moving parts there. But it sounds fun, because black is great for gaining life, which is funny because it's kind of counterintuitive, because you would think it's the demons and vampires, but vampires drink blood to gain health, so it kind of does make sense in the whole general color scheme of it. So you just dump a bunch of life gain spells and creatures or whatever, lifelink, into the deck. And he himself, like I said, has lifelink 4/4, not shabby. Some buff spells in there I would definitely put, so that you're gaining the most amount of life you can per turn. There's a bunch of little spells that I like that are 3 mana, where it's target player loses 3 life, you gain 3 life. There's 3 of those cards. They're all different names. Whenever I had a 60 card vampire deck, those were in there because I loved it. It was a life gain. Actually, it was a black-white life gain deck. Really fun just to hit your opponent for 3, boom, you gain life. And because of the deck, there was other things that happened when you gain life. So that's how I would definitely build him. I would absolutely be like, okay, every instance of life gain I can get, so that on my turn I gained 5 life, 6 life, 7 life, and then just immediately pay it again to make a 7/7 flying demon creature. So now you've got a 7/7 in the air. And as I've discussed in past, videos, flying is always, if you can get flying in your deck, you want it because, you know, even though it's obvious, not everyone builds decks that has flying or reach. So flying is a good tactic to just get in. Even if they're just 1/1s and 2/2s, flying can win you a game. So to have a 7/7 in the air, that's going to scare people, and it's going to be. Now, you can only do that once per turn. So it's not like you're making a giant army of these demons, unless, but then again, black, you can probably do some copy spells in there. And, I copy this token, so now I have 2 7/7 demons that are flying, and I'm going to gain a bunch of life, and now I'm going to make another 5/5 or whatever. So that's definitely how I would try and go about building it. Sorry for the wobble, I keep forgetting. I keep moving, and the little tripod stand that this camera's on, wobbles with it. But yeah, so I would totally go hardcore into the life gain on this. Creatures on the field just for blocking, and actually probably a smart idea would be to focus on flying creatures. So life gain, lifelink flyers, or just flyers in general, to have a nice army in the sky, and then use his ability to start cranking out demons as fast as you can. You could even toss in an Aetherflux Reservoir in there as a secondary win con. Well, maybe a secondary help, because unless you only have one person left, the win con isn't going to be that fast. But you could maybe but if you have that in your hand, or you're planning for it, you can actually not make them, because it's you may pay X life, so you can gain a bunch of life, move to your end step and say, ooh, I don't think I'm going to pay it this time, and move on. And so, oh cool, now I've got 57 life or 63 life or whatever. Cool, I play Aetherflux Reservoir, laser, tower laser, blast you in the face. This opponent's completely gone, and now I have 10 life, and maybe your opponents only have 5 or 6, whatever, So it's a good thing to have in the back pocket of a life gain deck, honestly. So yeah, that's how I would do that one. If he was a little bit lower on the commander cost to get him out, it'd be a little better if he was a 4-drop, for a 3/3 for 4 or whatever. I would probably consider that a little better. But again, I'm no expert. I'm not trying to pretend that, let me analyze the power, toughness versus mana cost, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying. Again, it's just the faster you can get your commander out and the cheaper it is if it does get blown up, the better. But that's how I would build these 3 decks. What would you guys do? Would you take any of them in a different direction? Have you seen them get played before? And, Arden has this great work with this other partner. So, it's a blue partner, but it does this amazing thing. Or, it's green or whatever. Or, partner Chroma with green, and she just goes to town on turn 6. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time.